Hello, my dear friends. It's a hoot to see you. I recently attended the very first HP Lovecraft Film Festival to be held in Mobile, Alabama, and it was such a good time that I'm making a 4-part series wherein I review all the films that I saw there, both short and feature length, so more people can find out about a lot of quality movies they might otherwise miss. This is the second part of that 4-part series because I broke up reviewing the 30+ movies that I saw to keep them from blurring together and to give each of them a chance to shine. These mini reviews will consist of me naming the movies that I saw, the official information available about them, how they sell themselves, and then my impressions on what I did or did not like about the movie. The segment starts with the feature-length piece simply called Frogman, a found footage style movie running for 80 minutes. The official plot synopsis is 3 friends in search of the Loveland Frogman are about to find out he is more than just a local legend. That's it. Try selling that. Oh, and don't forget to couple it with this promo shot. Seriously, somebody thought this would entice people to see it. Fortunately, the movie is way better than that lame sales pitch, and I can endorse it without reservation. The audience had a great time with this movie. Its humor works, the cast does well, and when the scares come, they don't feel contrived. They emerge organically as the story moves along. A reservation I had going in was the fact it is a found footage, fake documentary style movie, because in the words of the con organizer who introduced it, a lot of times the found footage technique is used to cover for lack of budget or acting skill, but that is not what is going on here. She was right too. Director and co-writer Anthony Cousins made good use of the technique to enhance the story and not to cover for some shortcoming. Set and filmed in Loveland, Ohio, so it doesn't have to fake being its own patch of hell on earth, Frogman opens with home video footage of a family taking a road trip pit stop when the son captured on camera the face of a frogman standing in the woodline. Nothing more, nothing less, just that one haunting and unbelievable shot. The sighting became a news story, and the Loveland Frogman became a local legend and driver of the small town's tourist industry. They erected a statue to the cryptid and sell frog kits to tourists. Fast forward a decade or two, the rest of the family has moved on with their generally uninteresting lives, but the son didn't. He's been telling everyone about how the Frogman is real. He's still out there, and you have to believe him or else his entire life is meaningless. It's the only thing he cares about. He's a loser living off friends and family, and they finally get sick of his freeloading and are about to kick him out. That's when he decides he has to go out one last time with the old family home video camera to prove to the world the Frogman really exists, with enough footage that nobody could deny it. He cajoles 2 longtime friends into going, and while they are reluctant, they are willing to give him one last chance. They would all pay horrible prices for that choice. What follows is almost tedious at times, with their interpersonal bickering and filming them goofing off once they get to Loveland. But as part of the greater whole, I see the value of building up their personal stories and relationships on the way to when the movie really kicks into gear and the scares start coming. While I'm not going to give away the action, the horror, and the scares that come your way, I will say 2 things. 1, when you get to the crazy guy's cabin in the woods, buckle up, things are about to get moving. And 2, the payoff is totally worth it. You will be horrified and amused. Hopefully that description has enticed you to give this movie a shot, because the creators haven't done much to let people know it's out there or how to find it. I couldn't find any trailers or social media accounts by the director or for the movie. However, production designer Jason Dean Thomas is on Instagram and has posted about it. This segment's first short film flirts with feature-length runtime because, clocking in at 43 minutes, we have the British film To Fire You Come at Last. Set in rural 17th century England, a group of men gather to carry a coffin on the long walk to the local graveyard for burial. Much ancient folklore and superstitions surround the pathway to the church, and several of the party are afraid to walk it after dark. Squire Marlowe, the grieving father of the dead man, promises to double their wages if they agree to make the mysterious journey full of unexpected revelations. This description does accurately describe what you're going to get in this movie, and I found it to be a mixed bag. While I basically enjoyed it, I found it did have some issues. The audio mix was off, sometimes loud, sometimes barely audible. 90% of the runtime is 4 grumpy men talking while carrying a wooden box in the dark. It sometimes felt tedious, even though the dialogue does build to a meaningful, dramatic payoff. While you do get to watch a hobo piss on a tree, it does get better. The acting was good, and not one of the actors put in a subpar performance. In particular, Squire Marlowe's actor, Mark Carlisle, has such a wonderful, scowling tone that I enjoy just hearing him talk. I posted links to the trailer, social media, and the film's website in the description. While it isn't perfect, if you enjoy personal gothic horror stories like The Telltale Heart, this is for you. Next up is a true short film because clocking in at just 3 minutes, we have Night Gaunts. We are told a traveler is snatched away on a monstrous voyage, based on the poem by HP Lovecraft. And that's it. That's all it has to say about itself. But having seen it, that's all it needs to say about itself. It doesn't try to tell too big of a story in its slender 3-minute runtime, instead focusing on a short but very intense story arc. A puppet movie, this thing is perfectly evocative and narrated. I absolutely loved it and found myself impressed. Check out the trailer to get a taste of what it has to offer, and we have some socials for you to find out more. It's 3 minutes and a good time. What more can you ask for? Next up, we have a Mexican short film called Los Perros, or in English, The Dogs. And it has to say about itself, everything is great when the investigators Augusto and Franco get their hands on a pair of strange glasses that enables them to travel through time and space. As they begin to understand them, Augusto gets obsessed with their power without knowing that beyond time and space lurk and wait entities that prey for those with unearthly ambitions. Clocking in at just 12 minutes, The Dogs is heavy on exposition, gets the mood just right, and is worth a watch even if I would tweak a few things. Based on H.P. Lovecraft short story The Hound, Augusto and Franco attract the attention of things beyond this world. The world's glimpse through the glasses are evocative, and the special effects are generally good. Nothing wrong with the acting either, as male lead Enrique Arreola has been in a ton of movies, over 100, and he delivers. Director Jose Luis Rodriguez is only listed for 1 director credit in IMDb, but I hope he does more because this showed promise. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any trailers or social media accounts for the movie, but I will share how you can see it at the end of the video. Next we have The Duppy Man's Walk. Upon failing to show proper respects at the edge of a mysterious marsh, 2 young men pay a horrific price for their encroachment when a restless entity makes its displeasure known. That description basically covers what the short film is about and what you're going to see. But it leaves some tasty backstory and morsels for the viewer unsaid. It teased, but it didn't give away too much, and neither will I. After the screening, director Greg Fox Jr. explained in a live Q&A session that this is really an 18-minute proof of concept. He made to shop a feature-length film with a much bigger story to studios to sell them on giving him a real budget to realize that larger vision. As a proof of concept, it works because the story was interesting and some of the performances were noteworthy. I say some because, as Greg told us, since he had a micro budget to make this thing, he only had 1 trained actor on the set. Everyone else were untrained first-timers. Let me tell you though, that 1 actor eats up the whole frame when he's on it. The first-timers did fine though. They hit their cues, they had some personality, and they did make me care about the characters. To my ears, the audio mixing was off because the old blind man was hard to understand, not for his accent, but for lack of volume. The lone female actress has a very distinctive accent, and while her energy came across loud and clear, at times I found she could have used subtitles. The plot was a little thin, but since this is only a part of a much larger story that Greg wants to tell, I can forgive it. With a few tweaks, this could be golden, and I believe the director successfully showed the potential for a feature-length production. You might be asking, what the heck is a Duppy Man? Fortunately, the director told us. A Duppy is a type of ghost spoken of in the Caribbean as someone who died with unfinished business, or who died while still dominated by something horrible they saw. So yes, this is a ghost story. Filmed in Okefenokee Swamp in southern Georgia, Greg Fox wanted to tell a uniquely southern story. As he and I discussed in the Q&A, he is going for the right kind of representation in film, of making films that tell the stories of people that Hollywood almost never allows their stories to be told in film, for whatever reason, and not the insulting tokenism so many studios do when they want to diversify by meaningless race or gender swapping of established characters, instead of telling interesting and new stories with new characters. The female lead in her unique patois, I'm confident your regular soulless studio exec would hear and think racist thoughts about how she's fresh out the cotton patch, or some dismissive bullcrap and find some way to not tell her story. Well, she is a real person, she represents real communities, and Greg and I agreed that these people deserve to have their stories told too. The real racists are the ones who refuse to let them. Now, Greg knows how to get the word out because this is all over social media. There's a trailer and all the socials in the description. Coming in at 10 minutes, the next up is A King in Yellow. A brother attempts to bring his sister's sense of hearing back by performing an occult ritual involving vinyl records. The only movie I've seen filmed entirely in American Sign Language, this was interesting. While the title indicates the world-destroying horror The King in Yellow is involved, this movie takes that potential for global calamity and narrows it down to a much smaller focus. There are plot twists appropriate to the story and characters, and I liked it. When it indulges the fantastical, it delivers what the title promises, but in a unique and personalized way. This was a successful Kickstarter, and that is also where you can watch the trailer. Director Drew Roderick has several social media pages I've linked in the description below, so you can follow him, and it does look like he's making more interesting things. The second feature-length film we have in this segment is The Veil. Redemption gives way to a reckoning when a reclusive retired priest shelters a young Amish runaway in crisis, only to reveal a mystery that ties her to a terrifying encounter from his youth and the shimmering curtain of aurora that rages overhead. 70 minutes long, this had a slow start, but once it got moving, it got really intriguing. I'm not going to go into the details because that's where the twists and turns of the plot grab your attention and really pay off. Little details inspired so many questions and the implications in my mind that it pushed me further and further towards the edge of my seat, and I do not want to rob you of that experience. The chemistry between male and female leads was amazing, and their ability to build and release tension really gave me a workout. Absolutely loved both of their performances, which is fortunate since almost the entire movie has one or both of them on screen with no one else to carry the load. Now I want to see what else they've done, because I so enjoyed what they did here. I put the trailer and social links in the description below. Next we have a 5-minute Irish short film, Still Up There. A mortally wounded astronaut awakens in the upper atmosphere after a catastrophic event. He struggles to remember how he got there. Being so short a film and with such a fitting description already given, I am again reluctant to go into detail about the things that flesh out and add spice to that movie blurb. I enjoyed it and the touches of terror that creator Joe Loftus put in it. I will say this, that for cosmic horror and space stories, how do you have cosmic horror stories that are not in space? That's where the cosmos is at, in space. Can you really have cosmic horror stories on the ground? Well, wait, we're on a planet that's hurtling through space. So it's all cosmic. A movie starts with an intact space shuttle and crew, and we see things go awry over the course of the movie. Here we start at the end, once all those things have already gone awry. And I liked what Joe Loftus did with it. Please creep yourself out just a little by watching this. We do have a trailer, but it looks like the creator doesn't do much in the way of social media, so that one trailer is going to have to do. Another creative take on weird horror comes from the short film Whisper in the Static. A young woman hears a mysterious noise over the radio and pursues it with dangerous consequences. This was neat, and it had what to me was a novel concept, a viral entity that lives in and possesses people through radio signals that normally just sound like static. The film opens with the main character being interrogated by law enforcement, so it's clear that she's being blamed for some crime. She has in the past allowed the entity to possess her, to skin ride her body so it can feel what she feels, but it also takes over her so completely that she has no memory of what happened until it leaves and lets her return to consciousness. She meets 2 other women who have been experimenting with the entity like it's a drug, and the 3 of them agree to follow the signal where it takes them to find the source of the static. As the 14-minute story unfolds, I was impressed by the twists and turns that take place at such a tight pace. The lead actress delivers an intense performance, and the 2 that join her on screen also leave lasting memories. So with good performances, a good story, and ideas new to me offered up, I heartily recommend this one. We don't have a trailer, but I found a website and Instagram page. Finally, we have The Temple. The crew of a German U-boat on a mission in the North Atlantic witnessed strange phenomena on board. After an inexplicable explosion in the engine room, the submarine slowly sinks to the abyssal depths, while madness decimates the submariners. Following the HP Lovecraft short story of the same name, The Temple runs for 17 interesting minutes. If you haven't read the short story, a Nazi Germany U-boat is on the prowl in the North Atlantic, taking opportunistic snipes at Allied warships before diving out of artillery range. However, the warships have depth charges, and the naval battle scenes really do have moments of nut-shrinking terror where I found myself shifting from side to side in my seat to avoid incoming fire. However, at a certain point, the submarine suffers damage to its propulsion system. A mysterious sea current drags it off course, and they have to dive to avoid Allied fire. Once below the waves, though, the ship refuses to take them back to the surface. Now sealed in their soon-to-be watery tomb, the crew mutinies and horrors of human brutality ensue. The feeling of claustrophobia really comes off the screen at you, and the human element of such a terrifying situation hits hard. At long last, the sole survivor sinks to the bottom of the ocean and there finds the temple, which is really well done. This movie was cool. The only weird thing about it was that a French-Canadian production, sometimes it had the crew speaking in French, but sometimes it had them speaking in German. Well, since they're Nazi German submariners, they probably would have been speaking German, and German's not that difficult a language to master, so why couldn't we have had the whole thing in German? It was just a little immersion breaking. Fortunately, this one does have a trailer and plenty of links to share, which I do below. That's all the reviews I have for this segment, but if any of these short films have you saying, Stephen, my dear friend, I would love to see these things, but how can I? Well, I've got you covered. Since these short films are on the festival circuit, they cannot go into commercial release even for free and still be considered for judgment and prizes by festival committees. But there are two options coming your way. First, the HP Lovecraft Film Festival will be hosting a streaming event where you can see all the films I saw and some I didn't on December 2nd and 3rd of 2023. If you get to the website and the price gives you sticker shock, let me assure you, you will get an incredible amount of film enjoyment for your money. Second, each year's HP Lovecraft Film Festival short film collection eventually winds up on a DVD or Blu-ray for that year's festival. Those are usually priced $20 to $25 each, and they are so worth buying that I have the whole collection. I have no financial interest whatsoever in either option. I just want to get the word out to people to enjoy them as much as I did. Believe me, you'll be glad or terrified that you did. My dear friends, as always, I thank you for your time and that you chose to spend it with me. As we part for now, I wish you nothing but the best.